think we're rolling. We have an audience today. Everyone, there's Millie Moo, there's Marley Dog, and there's Macy Dog. So we have an audience today to share our reading wrap up for the month of August. August was a really great month. I started my YouTube channel back up, which was really exciting. So thanks for being here. And I also read a lot of books. Let me actually count how many books I read. This might take a minute. Sorry guys if I'm boring you. Let's see. I read 11 books in the month of August, which is pretty good for having a full-time and a part-time job and for being a full-time student. So I forgot a book, but we now have our Come Up with Spice, so we are going to go over all the books that I read in the month of August. It's going to be very exciting. About the first book that I read, which is actually the sequel to the Dance of Thieves duology, which is very hyped up on Book Talk, and for good reason. This duology were two of the best books that I read this year, probably the best books behind Addie LaRue. The way that this author writes, it's Mary E. Pearson, is so lyrical and beautiful. So if you love lyrical and beautiful writing, then you'll absolutely love these books. The actual books themselves are stunning. If you can see, it has maps in here, and then the actual spine of the books is beautifully intricate as well. So I absolutely adored everything about these books. I read the first one on Kindle Unlimited and knew I wanted to read the second one, so I went ahead and bought the hardcover copy, and I'm so glad I did. Kaz and Jace's romance is my favorite that I've read to this date. Better than ACOTAR, better than Throne of Glass romances. Just the depth of their romance and everything that they went through is amazing. It's definitely an enemies to lovers romance too, so if you love that trope, then you're gonna love this book. These books are hyped up for a reason, and I loved every second of reading these, so I can't wait to read these again in about a year and have that same experience. And another really cool thing about this book is it's broken up with excerpts from the past of this family that it covers. It also has a lot of poetry and metaphors and symbolism too, so I think that's just absolutely stunning. The world building in this is amazing. The next book that I read was actually a library book, and that is Caraval, which I have on the bottom of my stack here. Caraval is another fantasy world. This is by Stephanie Garber. So Caraval is all about this show that goes on ever so many years, and you have to have a special invitation to this show. And so Scarlett has been writing to the show master Legend for years and years and years, and one year he finally writes back and she gets an invitation for her and her sister to go to the show. One thing leads to another, and then soon Scarlett and Donatella, her sister, are players in one of Legend's shows, and it's all about distortion, and there's a bunch of plot twists, but there's also an understory of romance too, and there's magic. And the way that Stephanie Garber describes the different settings and the different things in the book is absolutely beautiful. So you just have to read it to understand it, but I really do love Stephanie Garber's writing, and she's coming out with a spin-off series. Well, she's started the first book of the spin-off series of this world, and it's called Once Upon a Broken Heart. And so I do have that, and the second one is coming out this month. So I'm very excited to get through the Caraval series so that I can read those ones coming out next. But yeah, I highly recommend this. I don't think I mentioned this, but Vow of Thieves and Dance of Thieves were 5-star books, and Caraval to me was also a 5-star read this month. So off to a really strong start when it comes to this month. The next book I read, I also rated 5 stars, which it makes it sound like I give away 5 stars, but it was just so good. It was a good reading month overall. And that was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This was one of the romance books that I read this month. I had read Beach Read as well as Book Lovers prior to reading People We Meet on Vacation. So I didn't love Beach Read, but I loved Book Lovers. So I wasn't sure where this was going to kind of fall in the mix. And I'm happy to say that People We Meet on Vacation was my favorite of all three. I love friends to lovers trope. The friends to lovers trope is my absolute favorite. And I love timelines where we jump back in time and then back forward to the present, like with Love in Other Words, like with Every Summer After. Sorry if you see my dogs wrestling in front of the camera. Hey, not in front of the camera, okay? Not in front of the camera. But anyway, I absolutely loved People We Meet on Vacation. I recommend it to anybody. Emily Henry's like banter and style of writing is just really great as well. So if you love that kind of bantery style of writing where it's a lot of dialogue in the scenes, then you'll love Emily Henry's style of writing. But I just love the romance between friends, and this one hit the nail on the head. Is exactly what I was looking for. I actually read this on vacation too, which I think helps. And my dog is just knocking off my stack of books, which is great. Millie Moo, what are you doing? What are you doing, Millie Moo? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Millie has to be the center of attention at all times. But yeah, People Moving on Vacation, I also went ahead and gave 5 stars. The next one was actually an audiobook that I got through Libby, which is this really cool app where you can download audiobooks and ebooks through your local library. It's completely free. You just have to have a library card. You can even sign up for a library card as a part of Libby. So I did that so I could read an audiobook back and forth from vacation, and the one that I chose was The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This is the one that my hold came up first. And this book was really good. I usually don't read thrillers. I'm very much a romance or a fantasy reader. So this was my first thriller in a long time, and I really enjoyed it. Like, I think I kind of like guessed some of the stuff that was happening, but overall, it was still like a complete surprise how everything ended up being at the end. So The Guest List by Lucy Foley, I believe that I gave this one 4 stars. The next one was also a mystery, as well as had undertones of romance, and I'll put this on the screen as well. This was The Perfect Couple by Ellen Hilderbrand, and I also read this one on vacation as a part of Libby. And this one, I believe, was a solid 3 stars for me. It was really good in the extent that I hadn't read a mystery in a while, so I really loved hearing about all the different points of views as to what happened. So yeah, and I didn't guess the ending, so that's what makes a good mystery, whenever you cannot guess the ending. Next was Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. So let me preface this by saying I love Colleen Hoover's style of writing, and I think that's why I gave this a 3 star. It just wasn't my style of book. So Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, very much, it had a lot of spice, which is fine. I just felt like it was more spice than plot. And I get that was the main like purpose of Tate and, gosh, I can't even remember Miles, the male main character's name. I get that was the main purpose with Tate and Miles. Basically, they're friends with benefits because of Miles' past and like what happened in his past. But I just didn't love it. I didn't think a lot was going on. I was kind of bored throughout. But overall, I do really love Colleen Hoover's style of writing, and I always like that she puts a twist in at the end. Did it make me sob like some of her other books? No, I kind of saw it coming, exactly what happened. So yeah, I gave this a 3 stars. I enjoyed it for Colleen's style of writing. I didn't really love it like I've loved other Colleen Hoover books. I loved This Ends With Us. I loved Heartbones. I loved November 9th. I just didn't love this one specifically. So once I got done reading Ugly Love, I read probably my top book of the year next to Dance of Thieves. I'd probably put it above Dance of Thieves just because it was a standalone and it was just, I don't know, it's really something special when an author can capture such a great book in just a singular book versus like a series. I think there's something really special about that. My dog is trying to steal my my camera died, which was really great timing. So we have to start over. But I was talking about Addie LaRue, how this was my ultimate favorite book of this year because of how beautiful it was. The main message behind the story is all about like leaving your mark on the world, and I think there was something so special about that and how you can leave your mark on the world even if you don't do these huge profound things. So I thought that was really beautiful. This is a really beautiful book in general too. Like, look at this inner side, yeah, and look at the beautiful like cover. I absolutely love this version of Addie LaRue, so I'm just very thankful that I read this book and it's made a profound impact on me. So this was also a 5-star read of this year. This is probably my favorite book of the year, and then after that, Vow of Thieves and Dance of Thieves, and then People We Meet on Vacation. The next next book I read was a library book on my Kindle, and that was The Last Thing He Told Me, and that was by Laura Dave. And this was a pretty solid book. I ended up giving this one 3 stars as well. It's not the type of book that I would read again. I would recommend it to people that like something that's not as romance heavy and has more of like a mystery to it. But at the same time, it wasn't like a thriller. Like, I wasn't on the edge of my seat. So it was kind of a cozy mystery in that sense. But The Last Thing He Told Me is about this mother or this wife, and she marries this man named Owen with a teenage daughter. And one day Owen goes missing, and she is tasked with raising the teenage daughter as well as finding out what happened with Owen. And so it's them two trying to figure out what happened with Owen and who he really was. So yeah, it was a pretty good book. I gave it 3 stars. Next book, and I gave this one 4 stars, was Addicted to You by Krista Ritchie and Becca Ritchie. This is all over Book Talk, and for good reason. It was a great book. It's about these friends who are fake dating in order to hide their addictions. So it is really good in the sense that you see how they enable each other, and you see their love story blossom, and you see at the end what they're willing to do in order to get over their addiction. So it is a 10-book series, so it's only the beginning, so I'm excited to see where that goes. The next book I read was Archer's Voice. Oh, I forgot to for some reason I thought I read that on my Kindle, but I have the physical copy of Addicted to You. The next book that I read was Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan, and this one came highly recommended on Book Talk as well, and I was super disappointed by this one. I did not think it was that good. Like, I thought the plot wasn't really that special, and I predicted what was going to happen. There was too much spice for my liking in this book, so I wouldn't recommend this to anyone in my life. But if you like a lot of spice in books, maybe you like this. It is a small tone romance, which I typically do like, but I just felt like there wasn't a whole lot going on throughout the book, and it was pretty long for like what it was. And also, like, Archer and the female main character are terrible dog parents. Like, they left their dog like overnight, like routinely. And yeah, it was just very, very weird. And then the last book that I read for the month of August, I actually gave to a friend to read, and that was Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. This is her second major novel. Her first novel was The Love Hypothesis, and I loved that book. And the second one was great as well. One thing that's really unique about Ali Hazelwood is that all of her books follow females in STEM, and this one was the same thing. It was 2 scientists that are working at NASA. And so the female love interest and the male love interest are enemies, academic enemies, and they end up having to work together on this NASA project, and in the process they fall in love. So I thought that was really, really beautifully done. I love hearing about a profession that I typically don't hear much about, especially in romance books. So yeah, I really, really did enjoy this book, and I did end up giving it 5 stars, just like The Love Hypothesis. So yeah, in total I read 11 books in the month of August, and I had a great reading month. There's some really standout books like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue that I have been wanting to read, as well as finishing the Dance of Thieves duology and Caraval. I loved all these books. I also loved People We Meet on Vacation, and then there's Addicted to You, which I'm interested in finishing out the series as time goes on. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this little August reading wrap up, and I look forward to doing one for September too. But like and subscribe this video if you're interested in more book content from me, and I hope that you have a great day.